All right, here's page 3 of your review, starting off with solid, liquid, or gas. Please remember that all changes between solid, liquid, and gas are all physical properties, therefore they are physical changes. The volume of a solid is definite, the volume of a liquid is definite, and the volume of a gas is indefinite. Let's explain that. When you have a solid or a liquid, it takes the shape of kind of like the bottom of the container. But for a gas, it spreads all the way out. So it's going to take the shape of any container, including if there is no container. For the shape, definite, definite, and indefinite. Again, gas is the exception there because it takes the shape of anything. Okay, structurally, you should be able to recognize a drawing of a solid, liquid, or gas. The key feature in a solid is that we have a rigid structure, meaning that there are well-defined borders. In a liquid, you can tell that it's a liquid because all of the molecules or atoms are all kind of squished down to the bottom, but not in a very orderly fashion. And then a gas, of course, they're all spread out. Compressibility, that means how much can you squish them down into smaller substances. For a solid, not very much. I'm not going to be able to take this pen and squish it down very more. However, if I were to take a liquid, it would be slightly compressible. And if I were to take a gas, it would be very compressible because there's a lot of space in between those atoms. Okay, for number 5, physical and chemical changes. One thing you want to look for is in a picture, you're looking for one substance changing into another one. That would indicate a chemical change. Take a look at this first one. We have this cluster of atoms, and on the reaction side, it's the same cluster of atoms. They're just kind of spread out. So they're the same atoms as before. So all that happened here was a physical change, and we can assume that it went from a liquid to a gas. Okay, in this next one, notice that we start with 2 compounds, and we change it into 2 different compounds. So because there are new substances forming, this is going to be a chemical change, and we can tell that because of the totally new substance. Okay, in this last one, again, notice that all of these molecules are identical. The only thing that changes is that the space between them has increased. So the distance in between molecules. That tells me that it is a physical change, and in this case, a liquid to a gas. Evidence of a chemical change, you have to know this. It's just a list of stuff you gotta know, okay? So gas formation, fancy word for that is effervescence. Evidence of a chemical change is change in color. This must be a permanent change in color. Not like you painted it or that you put food coloring to it, but something that's changed permanently due to the chemical reaction. Number 3, change in temperature. Could be endo or exothermic. That just tracks which way the energy is flowing. Number 4, formation of a precipitate. A precipitate is a solid that forms during a chemical reaction. So 2 liquids basically coming together, whatever their reaction is, comes together as a precipitate. Number 5, a light is given off. Number 6, a smell is given off. 7, sound is given off. And then I didn't put a number for this, but you absolutely have to know this. Change in temperature. Again, that goes back to over here where you have endo or exothermic. Okay, practice. Ice cube is melting and evaporating. That's just physical. 2 chemicals mixed together. The key term here is that gas is produced. That is evidence of a chemical change. So it's chemical. 3, bicycle changes color because it's rusting. That's what we call a permanent chemical change. So that's going to be, a permanent color change, which indicates chemical change here. Number 4, solid is crushed. If you're just crushing something, whether it's a paper, right? It's still paper. It's just crushed into a smaller form. So that's going to be physical. Number 5, 2 substances mixed and a light is produced. This makes it a chemical change. Physical for number 6, by mixing. Anytime you're mixing and that's all that happens, this is going to be a physical change. Again, physical for dissolving. Anything that is quote unquote dissolved is going to be physical. For number 8, chemical change because you're including fire. 9, cutting something in half is just simply physical. If you have any questions on that, please make sure you ask in class. Part 3, this is where we talk about the periodic table. You just need to know the group names, what their valence electrons are, what their oxidation numbers are, and then at least 2 of their properties. Again, you just need to sit down and remember this. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.